Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I've got up this Rocky and Bullwinkle. I've had this in the shop for, I don't know, 6-8 months, something like that, maybe a little longer. Anyway, it boots. When I bought it, it booted anyway, and kind of plays just kind of sloppily. So I'm gonna just crack it open here and maybe turn it on and see what we got. I don't know how much work I'm gonna put into it. Kind of open the present, see what I've got here. So I just got the strap off, got the blanket back, and just looking here, it looks like it's had a topper of some sort, maybe a homemade topper. And I'm looking at it, I remember this. It had the homemade powder coating, if you want to call it that. Yellow electrical tape. I'm gonna get this off here before I put the head up, because once the head's up, it's not gonna want to come off. I don't know where they found this yellow electrical tape, but it kind of matches the game. I'll give them credit for that. I'm not really crazy about having electrical tape all over the game though, so I'm gonna get rid of it. I will watch it. So I get this thing stood up. So they've got this tape everywhere, and of course it's leaving all this sticky residue, which really sucks, and it's pulling up some of the black. I have to get that lockdown bar off before I can get that off, and it's on the head too. Let's see how easy this comes off. Oh, it's coming off this painted surface a lot easier than it did. The topper's gonna have to come off to get, I think he ran it, or maybe not. Yeah, he did. I'll leave that there for now. I'll pull that topper off some other time. Geez, okay, so let's look at the play field. It's dirty, rubbers are tired, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of wear. In fact, I don't see any wear. The ramps are kind of cloudy and dirty looking. Could probably stand some new ones, or at least clean them up. If I took them off there, cleaned them, that'd probably go a long ways. The skirts on the pop bumpers are relatively decent. In fact, they look very decent. I always look at those because tearing those down is always a lot of fun. Yeah, the rubbers are pretty nasty. Let me plug this thing in, see if it'll boot up. I guess I should probably look in the back box first, but I'm not going to. I said I should, and I should, but I have had this on once before I bought it. Let's see what happens here. It's booting. It's searching for a ball. I may have pulled the balls out of it. I may not have. May just not know where they're at. Insert coins. Let me find the keys. And looks like that says Bullwinkle. They all say Bullwinkle. Probably the silver one for the door, I would guess. All right, let's throw a credit on here.
I got it. Ding, ding, ding. Hooray!
All right. 3 balls missing. Okay. Well, we can take care of that. So get the glass off. It already looks a lot cleaner. Just getting that one layer of dirt off of it. Just looking around. Y'all see this? It's like furry, sticky. I think it's probably, I'm guessing this thing would like shoot down the center. So this was a solution to like slow the ball down or keep it from flop. I don't know. Pretty crude way to deal with it, but I guess it would work. That's just not, I bet it's gonna leave a bunch of sticky goo behind. Not too bad. Not too bad at all, actually. Well, I got most of it off of there. That incident. Well, that looks a little bit better. I'll get that later. So I got 3 balls here. See if it's gonna play. Hey, it's a good shot. Now, I was looking at this. This does not look stock. You see this block of wood and this whole thing? Very customized. I mean, I don't hate it, but I wish it wasn't there. I want to look at a real one. Yeah, that's not. It's about to fall out. I don't know how that's held in. It's really not held in. I guess the lockdown bar kind of holds it in. I wonder if a guy did this just to customize it, make it look cool. It's a pretty good little thing. It's just like kind of janky. Anyway, I'm gonna launch a ball. Only got 1 flipper rubber. Yeah, flippers feel strong. Let's hit some ramps. Seems like stuff is happening. But this shoots right down the middle. What do you want to bet? No, not at all. It just hit over here. Maybe just too fast for him. That's perfect. So that buck works.
Kaboom!
Kaboom! Hey, Bullwinkle, press the fire button to extinguish.
I can't make up my mind.
So, how do I get in the buck over there? I have to just like. There's one way. Kind of floppy, but otherwise all right. I don't know. I didn't hit every switch, but I hit a lot of them. Seems like the major functions are working. This is the kind of game where you list on Facebook and people say everything works, you know? And yeah, it kind of works, but I don't know. It's not good enough for me to play. It's ugly. Maybe everything does work. I don't know. Well, I've seen enough of this. Seems like this must be working. Let's tear off the head and look in the back box. Hopefully there's not a battery corrosion waiting for it. Yeah, I remember this one now. So people that will put yellow pinstriping on their games, apparently they will replace these fuses. Instead of resoldering in the fuse holders, they don't have those. They put in these automotive fuses. They've done that on all of them. I bet they're the right size. I'll bet money that every one of these fuses are the right size because somebody put some attention into it. Kind of a hack, I would say. I would guess, I don't understand why people do it like this. Either they don't have the part, but those are relatively easy to get and they're a lot cheaper than these holders. My guess is it really comes down to they didn't want to pull the board out of the game and they soldered it in the game. So they soldered it from the front side of the board and that's their reasoning. Yeah, I bet it is because look at this. See that transistor there? That was replaced and soldered on the front side of the board. I can't say I've never done that, but come on now. This is a little bit ridiculous. So yeah, it does have the batteries, but no leakage at all. It's not even any corrosion. So a little bit of work to be done. Just looking at these caps, they all look good. They're probably all original. I can't imagine somebody swapping these caps and then doing this nonsense. Can't imagine it. Well, so where to start, where to start, where to start? I guess I should start with the power supply and undo all this stuff and maybe recap it. I don't know. There's 2 or 3 of them. These few right in here that are real bad about failing. The rest of them not quite as bad, but these, I don't. There's one in particular. I think it's that one. It's the one that's really hard to get your hands on. I think it's that one, or I don't know. The whole group of them, they're kind of prone, I believe, but one in particular. So I guess I'll start by pulling that board and yanking it out. I got to show you this. This is, I'm like shocked actually. So look what he's done here. So the wires, he split them in half, put half on each side. That's a lot of effort. I wouldn't have gone that far. That's for dang sure. I'd have put them all in one hole if I was going to do this. So, and based on the look of it, it doesn't look like he soldered from the front. It looks like he soldered from the back because that's dry and it's soldered on the back side. So there are a whole bunch of missing pads. See those? All those pads are gone. So, fortunately, there's no traces connected to those on the fronts, but I don't know if that's going to be the case for all of them. So I may end up having to do some repairs on this. Looks like all the caps are original. Nobody has ever reflowed the solder on the header pins. They actually look, well, now that I'm looking a little closer, like that one right there, I thought I saw a crack in it. Yeah, for sure. That whole right row is cracked. That one's almost got a crack, so I'll hit those. Try my Hacko. Haven't had much luck with it yet. This would be a pretty good place to start on this stuff because there's just lots of solder. See what I can do. So I got the solder reflowed around the board. I'm trying to get these wires done and hitched. I got that one. That one I kind of couldn't get it, so I've got my iron cranked up to 11. Trying to get hot enough to get everything molten on both sides of the board, and I'm pulling on the back side. That's what he did. Like, it's kind of amazing, really. I'm kind of impressed and shocked and scared. I mean, it does make it a very solid connection and kind of difficult to get off. Well, these are kind of, that one I couldn't get it off. I don't know. I may have to do some work on the front of the board. I don't know what it looks like. That one's drawn real easy. Wait for it to get hot enough to heat up the other side of the board, and depending on where the traces are, that's like, it may be sucking, like this one's not getting hot enough to come loose. I've got my soldering iron to 389. Oof, I can't even hold the wire to pulling it. I'll come back to that. Try a different strategy of some sort. I guess this one is still akin. So that one I couldn't get off. This one I haven't tried yet. Give this one another shot. Ooh, that was hot. Oh, it's coming. Whew. problem is I get the solder hot and then it flows the other side, and then I don't make good contact at the top anymore. There we go. So that's the key. I've got to get it hot and get it yanked before all the solder flows through, and then I lose my thermal connection once the solder drains out. Okay, I think these, they don't have any pad on the other side, so they should be easier because there's nothing, they're not soldered on the top of the board. The pads are missing. Make sure I'm yanking on the right thing. Jeez, what a nightmare. Okay, one more. I get some of this stuff. Anybody need an automotive fuse holder? I got a bunch of them here. All right. Whew. I may harvest fuses out of there. Like I said, I bet that they are good. Let's see if this Hacko will do. Oh yeah. And I'm clogged. I think I'm turning the thing off too quickly after I get through sucking the solder. So like I need to run it till it completely clears up. Wow, that's pretty nice. That's very nice. That pad is wanting to come up. These pads have been through hell by probably the previous guy, and for sure me too. I got them really hot, and then I don't think that was clear. Oh, geez. It's clearly folded over. Geez, that one's ripped in two. Yeah, this is a freaking nightmare. And that one's all but ripped in two. You see how it's torn on that big trace, and that's probably, yeah, it's 8 amp. That's gonna need good connection. And this one, geez, that's, that one's all but torn. Yeah, this guy did a number on this board. So I am going to try and clean the masking off these so that when that one should be all right. So when I put the clips in here, I can get them soldered down to the traces. Put a little extra. And I'm clogged again, and I've misplaced my plunger, which is easy to do because I got such a mess on my desk. Well, this is pretty messy. This is really messy. I'm gonna go get some clips and see what I can do. So I got that first one in there, and I got a 7-amp slow blow, and I harvested it from the pile that I pulled out of there. And start with these easy ones because they're not torn up really, just on the top, but that's all right because don't need anything on the top for these. And I don't know that I've got enough fuse clips to finish this thing today. I've only got a handful here. So I'll grab a couple more. And I always like to put the fuse in it first. That way you can get the right length. These fuse holders I've got here, they don't, so a lot of them are ended, so that you have to have them exactly the right length or real close to it, or at least a little too far. I didn't even look to see that was a 7-amp slow blow. It is a slow blow. That's an 8. Here, this has got to be the 7 here. I guarantee you these are all right. There's my 7. This guy's probably an engineer. Kind of know the type. Oh my gosh. All right, well, those two are done. That was easy. These other ones are going to be, I think I'll do 4 amps low blow. That one's the next easiest. Yeah, I do not have enough. Well, maybe I do. Maybe one short. That one looks relatively intact. So I'm actually missing one of the fuses. I dropped one somewhere. I don't, unless I didn't pull it out of my, oh, there it is. I bet it's right here. That's a 1/2 amp. So that one goes there. I guess we could do that one. Let's do that one. So we got the 8 amps slow blow. We should have a, is that our, that does not look like a slow blow. I think one of them's wrong. So those all should be slow blows, and those are not all slow blows. A little skimping. I mean, it's safe to put a fast in for a slow blow. Just means you're going to, and that is a slow blow, I can tell by looking at it. Okay. This thing in there. And see what we can do. And it falls out, of course. Get it tacked in here. I'll just hold it. Okay, so the issue is I'm gonna have to get this pretty soaked with heat to get it well through the other side. So I'm gonna have to hold it so that it doesn't fall out because it's not in there rigidly. And I do not see that going to the other side. Like I never saw it wick down. And my finger on the back side is getting pretty warm, even though it's holding onto that glass. Okay, so that one didn't matter because that one doesn't have a trace. You know, I can't see the thumb there, but there's no trace, so it didn't wick through because there's nothing to wick to. This one, the far side doesn't wick to anything because if there was a pad, it's gone now, but this other side goes right to that trace, so that side definitely needs to be the inner one. This one here needs to penetrate through and or solder from the other side on the top side of the board. Not sure I saw any flow through. Let that harden up. Yeah, I don't see any solder on the other side. Get this fuse out of the way. I'm going to scrape a little bit more of the trace of the coating here. You see, there's the pad right there. It's free. It did not go through that wick at all. So that one is really probably not connected electrically at all at the moment, but it will be. So there it wicked down. I saw it. So it's connected to the other side now. And I'm going to go ahead and just make it ugly. It's ugly, but I think it's electrically sound. And I lost my fuse. Oh, there it is. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah, it's half amp. All right. Geez. It'll probably go this top to bottom. This one's going to be the same issue. So that one's probably all right. And that one I'm going to have to kind of do like I did there. So let's do this one next, the top one. So I just soldered in this 4 amp from the back side, and you can see I got penetration on that one and a little bit there, but these other two I did not. So I'm gonna try to alleviate that real quick. All right, so just got the one more, and this one's probably one of the uglier ones. That's not even clean. Unfortunately, I've only got one more holder here, unless I can find one, or I could probably pull one off a board from somewhere. I don't know if I ever got the 4 amp slow blow. I think I need to find it. Yeah, the 4 amp was not a slow blow. So I'm gonna go get a 4 amp slow blow. I'm tempted to throw this back in there because I'm gonna do some work on these caps, replace at least a few of them. I wanna make sure that this stuff is working before I work on the caps. I kinda like to do things piecemeal. That way, if I screw something up, I know I've screwed something up, and there's possible, yeah, that's possible that something here is not good. I mean, I could measure continuity between these things. That's really not enough because these things have current flowing through them, and the multimeter, it's only measuring a minimal amount of current. So even though the multimeter may show continuity, it could easily fail a test with the load. So I think I'll throw this in the game real quick and boot it up and see if it's okay. By the way, you can buy this board. It's not super expensive. Rotten Dog makes one that you can just pop in and replace it. And I have solder all over the place on these caps. There's several of these caps, by the way, that are kind of hard. I believe it's that tend to pull up the traces. I believe it's these here. Yeah. And as I remember, they're the ones that are the least important to swap out. They're not like they're the, see what the voltage is on the 25 volts. That's not the ones. I guess these are the high voltage. Yeah, these two here are the high voltage for the displays. I'm probably going to put a color DMD in here, so I won't even be using these. The whole high voltage will be not necessary at all. So yeah, there's 100 volt, and these are 200. Oh wait, yeah, these are high voltage too. So I may just swap out these three, but I'm gonna throw it in the game real quick. All right, I got everything plugged in. Y'all ready for a smoke test? Thought I saw for a second. Yep. Okay, we're booted. Seems like major systems are working. Probably start a game. Okay, we didn't destroy anything too badly. I know that's a little bit of a hack job doing that, but I mean, I don't know. That's as good as I can do it. I mean, there's people that can do a lot better job than that, stitching it together and all that. But you know, that's where I'm at in the road to learning how to solder better. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll do those or not. They look perfectly fine. Probably should, but I'm tempted to move on to something more pressing. Get those batteries off there. And on this board, I'm pretty sure I can just swap out that, I think it's that chip right there. I can't hardly read the number. I need to get my glasses. I think it says 6264. I think it's that chip. Just put in an NVRAM for that chip and that thing is good to go. Could almost, actually it may be that thing's hinge. You can just click, click, clip, not even pull the board. I'm gonna pull the board anyway because I want to reflow the header pins, but that may be real quick. Probably not gonna do anything with the soundboard. I'm not gonna recap that. And then this one, it's got some more of this nonsense. I really like that. Wire net and a couple more. And I don't have any more fuse holders. I had to pull one off another board. I don't want to have to do that again. So I'll probably just wait on those. So I may just call it for the day. I'm glad I threw the power supply back in there because I realize I am missing a bunch of my GI lights. I got GI lights in the bottom of the game. The top of the game, I think they're out. And the back box are out. I wiggled this connector here. Well, I thought I did. I thought that guy brought them on. There it is. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's this one here. Anyway, somewhere in there wiggling, and I got some of the GI lights, but not all of them. There's a bunch of them over here. They're not working. And I still don't have the GI. And this connector here is pretty roached. I'm guessing. Yep, now I got that. So probably that female connector I'll probably ought to go, and while I've got it out, I probably should put a new header pin in there also. So I think I'll go ahead and pull this thing now since I'm waiting on these other fuse holders and replace a few caps and replace that header pin. Looking at IPDB, that's what the ball launch button is supposed to look like. That housing and the Boris button, they're both for sale on Marcos. They've got, I mean, that's like 35 and that's another 50, it's like $50. I could replace it. Probably this thing got folded over and that thing got mashed, I'm guessing. But I don't know. I kind of, like I said, I don't hate it. And I was thinking of it, it's not held in, but I was looking at it more closely. There's a lip there. So when the lockdown bar is in there, I mean, it's a little jiggly, but it's not going anywhere. I do hate these buttons. They're convex instead of being concave, so it's like your finger doesn't really have a home. That drives me nuts. So those are gonna have to be swapped out, and you know they're ugly anyway. Yeah, they're just like mismatched. Anyway, and I'm not real crazy about that button either with the cigarette burn or whatever. But you know, went through the solenoid test. I think everything works. Even this wording works. At least most of the flashers. Like when you do the flasher test, it'll say there's like 3 on the playfield and 1 on the back box. For every flasher test, there were flashers going off. I don't know that every flasher on every test was working, but most of them are going. I know that all of them in the back box are going because I could see every one. It's kind of hard to know where they're all at under the playfield. But by and large, this game is working better than I thought it was. Just kind of, it's mostly just dirty and ugly. Taking this thing apart, put some new rubbers. I'm not sure what color rubbers I might want to use. I might put something colorful in this one. I don't know what color. Maybe the baby blue. I kind of like the baby blue, or maybe I don't know. Maybe pink. There's really no pink. I think maybe the baby blue, because there's a lot of the baby blue, and I really like that color. I've got a little bit of it, and I'd buy a little bit more. Yeah. So I pulled this board out, and I read on Wikipedia, and this was indeed the one that always leaks. And look what I just yanked it out, and look, underneath there, it's already been belching out fluid, even though the top of it looked fine. So I'm gonna swap out these 3 caps here, and I'm also gonna swap out this header pin. It doesn't look horrible, but it's definitely lost some of the plating on those top couple of pins, and it's easy enough to swap those out real quick. So I'm gonna do that too. So I went ahead and swapped out all the caps except for the high volt. I didn't swap out these 2 and those 2 because those are the high voltage. I did do all these. Those are for the 12 volts. And because I'm going to put a color DMD in there. Won't need the high voltage, but it does tax the 12 volts a little extra. So, and I did all these at that one there. That's part of the 5 volts. I did that one. That's for the solenoid voltage. I did those 3. So this thing's fully capped except for the high voltage, and I also got put a new header pin in for this one because that was part of the GI. I don't think it was so much the header pins as the connector, but the header pins weren't as nice as the new ones. I'll probably end up will for sure repin the connectors because it was like the whole casing was breaking apart. It's gotten hot and it's all brown, and it's the IDC, so you got to get a new connector housing and then put new pins on there. So I'll do that also. And then hopefully we put this in there, it'll boot up. And then after I put a new connector on here, we'll have GI lights. We might have GI lights even before that. Just doing the male side of this connector may be enough to get the GI lights to work. But I'm gonna do it either way, the new connector. All right, I got it back in the game. Let's do a smoke test here. Sounds like it's booted up. Soundboard booted. Yep, it's booted. And we still don't have all the GI lights. Yeah, the top are not going. And I'm not sure it's all this connector. Let's see if I can actually, let me wiggle. I'm gonna wiggle this one here. This part of it is here, at least for the head. There, I got it. So that was me wiggling this connector, and it's horrible. I don't have that board fully in there. Like this top one pin, it's just like, it's toasty. So that's I don't want that touching anything. So I'm gonna repin this, and this is gonna be a little bit of a pain when they're like that yellow wire there. You've gotta essentially cut it and put both those wires in one pin. And that gets a little hard to do because it's a lot of metal to put in a single pin, but I'm gonna do it. This one's like loose, and if I get in here close, you can see how nasty it is. It's just not gonna, it's probably a little sprung too. So anyway, repin that in about 1 second. And 1 second later, it's repinned. I bet you always you could repin that fast. Let's see what happens here. Turn it on. Okay, GI lights there working down here. It still looks like we're missing some of these back here. Wow, I just hit that bulb and the whole thing came on. These are all daisy chains, so it could be like maybe that socket. I mean, I literally just touched that bulb and they all came on. Or maybe they were controlled and it took a second to turn on. I can't imagine they're all controlled. I'm gonna try this one more time. No, they're not controlled. I thought maybe there's a relay. They're all working now. Or maybe wiggling this, maybe this one of these. I can't remember which one it was. I never figured out which one it was to start with. But one of these was, I was pretty sure it was a little gimpy. Doesn't seem to be anymore. Well, I'll keep an eye on them, see what happens. There's a couple that are not working. I'm just assuming that's bad bulbs. You see when I messed with that one, this one clicked on for a second? It was weird. I'm gonna ultimately probably LED all these. Maybe I'll just do that real quick and see where we're at. Threw in some LEDs and all the lights in the head are working now. Well, except for one. Bad socket. I see this thing here needs to be, see that can is just like loose. A little dab of solder between that and between this piece here and that base there. Just file that little corner there and a dab of solder, and that will be, it's just, that's just pressed on, and that will solidify that connection, and that will be good. So I'm gonna do that right now. So I filed that little corner there and then put some solder in there, and now I'm also going to just clean the inside of that socket, because it seemed like there was something else that was a problem. Lots of places sell these. I think they call them socket cleaners, but they're basically gritty, kind of wet or plasticky kind of thing, and still nothing. Well, let's try this. Just make sure it's not, oh, got a bad bulb. It happens. Yeah. Well, that was kind of a waste of time. That was a loose socket though, so we'll throw this sucker in the trash. Threw a new socket or a new bulb there, so now we're good to go. I got it just this weekend. I got in some more fuse clips, so I think I'll undo this other hackage on this board. Yeah, I think I'll do that next. This board I've shown working on these before. All I've got to do is physically remove this, swap that for an NVRAM, that chip there, and reflow the solder on this thing. And that's probably all I'm gonna do on that one. So I probably won't even show that one, but I am gonna do that, pull this one, because this one's gonna be just like this one, yanking out these automotive fuses and get rid of the wire nuts, and you know. So I got this on a bench, we can see it a little bit better. So they did the same thing as on the other board and literally split the wires on either side. I mean, if you're gonna do it like this, they did it well. I don't advise it, but I think they probably just didn't have the clips. And so they you know, go to the hardware store and you buy these, and it works. I just don't like the looks. I mean, it's actually perfectly fine, except for I hate looking at it. Wire nut's a little bit less than perfectly fine, but you know, it's not, I guess it's not that horrible. So I'm gonna get rid of those. Probably swap out this C1, and I am not gonna replace these. The solder doesn't look absolutely horrible, so I'm gonna leave those. They're functioning. I'm not gonna swap those out. And the back side of the board, they don't look horrible, but a couple of them are a little less than stellar. That last one there, it's starting to crack. So I've got my soldering iron cranked up pretty hot. This one's going to be a little easier from the standpoint is there's no traces on the top side of the board, so I only have to get the bottom hot and these things are going to come out. Those came out fairly easy, and here's the other two. That came out super easy. Ooh. Turn on my Hacko while we're waiting here. That takes a second to heat up. There we go. And I think I'll just, well, I can reflow these header pins real quick while we're waiting for the Hacko. So back from fast motion, I sucked off the solder off these last edges and try to get something that looks a little bit better. And I'm gonna hit all these other ones too. And really, you ought to take the solder off and replace it on every single one, but I don't. It's just a matter of time and money. Well, time being money. And these are the other ones, actually, I see no fractures at all, so this is just kind of a preventive maintenance. I did see, when I was going through it, y'all probably couldn't see because it was fast motion, there were several that were pretty cracked. And I'm assuming the edges of these, the ends of these two were probably cracked too, which is why somebody soldered them. I don't think they got it hot enough. It takes a fair amount of heat because you get that pin and it sucks the heat off and these big traces on this board. So you gotta have a fair amount of heat and then leave the heat on there a little bit so that it gets hot enough to really adhere. So these look pretty horrible, these pads. I just had out my, I've got my little fiberglass tool. I'm gonna grab some alcohol and try to clean these up and see how much of the pad lies beneath. So I got some alcohol here. I'm just gonna if you don't have a tool like this, they sell them on Amazon. Some sandpaper will work also, but this is pretty gentle and it works pretty well. You can see all the dirt coming off. And most of the pad is still there on that one anyway. And that one looks pretty decent too. Just blow that off. Yeah, see I lost a part of that pad there and a little bit there, but not too awful bad. I'll do this other one here. I may end up scraping some of the green conformal coating off so I can get more of the pad to solder to, because I mean, there's a huge amount of pad, so, or trace, I should say. Ooh, I got this thing stuck. It's not wanting to come out. So I'm just gonna take this screwdriver here and scratch away in between these, and that will make a huge pad. Instead of two small pads, it's going to be one big massive pad. So I got those two fuses thrown in there, 5 amp slow blows, and I'm going to clean up all this residue and then throw it back in the game. One more thing I got to do is take out this C1 cap, which is, I believe it's a cap for the solenoid voltage, so it's kind of nice to have a good one. It's going to make everything a little punchier. Well, I got the ball back in there. It's up and playing. What I haven't done is looked at the flipper board down the bottom. I may pull that out and look at it real quick. I went ahead and yanked out the MPU next, pulled that. Didn't do anything else other than pulling that. I didn't have to put a replacement battery because I swapped it with an NVRAM, that 6264. If you flip this image upside down, you'll see the part number. It's FM 1608 120PG. And I swapped those two caps out for fresh ones and refilled the solder on the header pins. And this is going back in. So just threw the MPU board in there, started it up, everything was good. I lifted the playfield to look at the flipper board, and yeah, I should have figured. So more work on this one. So let me get this out of here real quick. So this flipper board, the same story as everything else, all these automotive fuses. Fortunately, this one is like the last board where there's no traces on the top, which is going to make it a little bit easier to take care of. So I guess I'll get after. So I got those fuse holders back in there, reflowed the solder on those header pins on either side. Throw this back in there, make sure it works. And there's at least one lamp that is locked on up on the playfield on this little circle. Maybe look into that. So I've got the game here. I'm not even in the lamp test yet, but this was the one that I knew that was locked on. And as soon as I kind of looked around, I saw this one also. So I found this one on the lamp test. That's the middle red. That's number 8. That's right here. So I was thinking, well, what's that one? And I was thinking, well, I bet it's either on this row or this column. And so I went over to number 16, left ramp entrance. So there's 8, 16. See if we find 24. Right out lane. Oh, yeah. So I bet this whole row is locked on. If you like F14. 32. Advance X. I have no idea where that's at. There's Super Pops and there's Mystery Select. 3240. Super Pops. Advance X. 48. Launch button. I guess that's the launch button. That may or may not be working. It may not even be wired up. 56, mystery select. Yeah, so this whole row is screwed up. And that's very likely going to be a problem on the board, MPU board. Quite possibly anyway. Which kind of stinks because I should have gone through this before I pulled this board, and I could have checked it out. So this is all the lamp stuff, and there's a couple of these chips right here. It could be these 7404, 7406s. Yeah, that's what so I just, y'all backing up. This is just kind of a diagram of what does what. One's the lamp return, one's the lamp drive. I don't know if it's the column is the drive or the rows are the drive. So again, I still don't know. I still got to find the schematic, see which ones are the drive and which ones are the return. I guess I could look at where I was at. Yeah, okay, so the rows, oh, that's switches. So it's the return side because it's a row that's the problem. In fact, it's CN, well, it's red and gray, CN69, but I still don't know which chip because there's two of them, so I still need to find it on the schematics. So there's that CN69, that's where it's leaving. There's that pre transistor. I think that's the one on the chip, and so it's more than likely this tip 122 Q79. So that's good news because that's easy to swap out. It's short of pulling the board. So I'm gonna pull the board, check Q79. I bet it's shorted. So here's Q79. It doesn't look visibly burned up, but I'll do a diode test on it real quick. So this is our suspect one. So I'm gonna figure out which way. Okay, that looks 645 and 0.5. Let's see what this is. 645. Wow, well, it looks good. See across 1.1. 0.645 and 0.515. 0.645. Wow, so it tests perfectly. That's not what we wanted to see. Make sure I'm testing the right one real quick. So I double checked the schematics, and that is the suspect. It tests good. That doesn't mean it's actually good. So I'm going to swap it just in case it is bad and testing good. But I'm guessing this is not going to fix the problem. Probably there's an issue on the playfield. One of the diodes on the lamps is bad. One of the sockets is shorted or something like that. So, but while I get the game out, I'll just rule this out as the problem. So I got it put back in there with the new transistor. Not very hopeful, but we'll see. And yeah, that did not fix it. That's lit, that's lit, that's lit. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these bulbs out one at a time, the ones that are lit, and see if the rest of them go out. And sometimes that will, you can distinguish the one that's causing the problem. Like if I pull that out, it'd be really cool if they all, so that's probably not the problem. And I'll pull out this one. Well, I'm gonna have to have two hands to do this, so I'll do it off camera. Once I find it, I'll show you. So I started pulling bulbs, and they're all lit still. And then I was thinking, this one was one of them that's on that row, and it didn't work. And then look at all this gobbledygook BS over here. I mean, I don't see well, there's a diode, but that's on the switch for the lamp. That one's not even connected. I don't know what's going on here. It's not cool though. So these two wires here, I was wondering where these came from. These are the wires that go up to the head. So somebody was tapping off of here to run something on the head. When I first started this video, I mentioned there was a couple of these wires sitting up here that were hooked up to nothing, and those, I don't know. I'm gonna start by getting rid of all this extra BS wires, and maybe I'll rig up that light again, or maybe I won't, but get rid of these potential hacks, and maybe that's gonna fix a problem. So sure enough, the problem was all this stuff here. So I got rid of all those wires. I still don't quite understand it. So here's one, that's one of them that's locked on. If I take this wire here and I cut it, it was, you can see the red still, a little piece of red there. If I touch that to ground, that's solid on. If I pull it off, now it's behaving properly. So I don't know why somebody did that, but somebody did it. I don't really understand any of it. So that wire was taped off. This one was to ground. And then this is the crazy part about it. Oh, then there's these two wires that are, somebody's drilled a hole. I'm assuming they tapped onto the voltage on the bulb maybe. I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't have just grabbed it from one of these terminals here. Or maybe that's it. Maybe this is not one that has a bulb in it. So maybe that's probably what it was. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to light this bulb, and this is not a switch that has a bulb in it. Okay, so that's what they were doing here. But the other thing that was really weird, so they had this switch here, and it was set up in here. It's kind of taped on like up in here like that. So when the switch presses, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little tab that moves here. So that tab would hit this button. And then these two wires were also run up the back of the head and out to the top. So maybe they had something on top that would, so when you started a game, it would trigger something. And it was like, maybe it was really cool. But, you know, whatever it was hooked up to is not there anymore. And it's causing all kinds of problems. I'm going to leave that for now. That switch is actually working in the switch matrix. I checked it. And these are not hooked up to anything because there's not a, I don't think there's a, yeah, I'm looking inside of there and there is not a lamp in there, I don't believe. I don't think that was made for a lamp. So maybe I will get the upgraded button, so the whole assembly here, I can get the whole part, the button and the little assembly that it goes onto. It kind of sticks out a little bit, like 40 or 50 bucks. And then I'll have the proper places to put the wires. I will have to put a wire diode in for that lamp, but that's not a problem. Maybe I'll do this a little bit nicer. But anyway, so lamp matrix problem solved. So I think, as far as I know, everything's working on this game. I'm sure there's probably some other issues. Lots of stuff needs to be rebuilt. I would say that's WD-40'd plungers. I'm wiping off the greasy grime. Yeah. So anyway, lots of dirt, lots of grime, lots of rebuilding mechs. But it's working now. So I think I'll call this one done in terms of this video anyway. Got it electrically and mostly working. All the major systems are working. So anyway, if you like the video, click like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.